They fly, they smash, and sometimes they roll over and crash. Coming up next, it's a monstrous clash. This is Trucks and Tractor Power, featuring the superstars of the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Nationals Monster Truck Challenge. Welcome to Trucks and Tractor Power on the Nashville Network. Today we're at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania for the 4th annual four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Summer Nationals. Hi everybody, I'm Gary Lee alongside Army Armstrong. We have a 12-truck monster field. We have 12 of them. But the guy's getting all the attention is the last truck to roll in.
That truck is Barefoot. He wraps up the Dirty Dozen, as we're going to call him, and could literally be everybody else's nightmare. Fred Schaefer loves to run heads up. He's an old-time outlaw-type monster truck racer. He rolled in today. He had one day off. No, he's going to go monster truck racing, see what he can do against these guys. And he will be a player, Gary Lee, I'll guarantee you.
A nightmare or a daydream? We'll find out as we come back to Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. A good crowd on hand here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. They have yet to see anything in first-round competition, but we have seen plenty of action. Look at this truck nightlife.
Well, as you can see behind us, Wayne Swazanik out of Florida took a ride on a wild side today. Wayne, what happened out there?
Army, we hit the second set of cars wide open, because that's the only way you can keep up with these guys. And what happened was, as best I can tell, I slung the power steering belts off and lost the steering. When I got back on the ground, truck was up on its side, which normally wouldn't be a bad situation, but of course without the assist of the hydraulic steering, you just can't muscle the truck around. And going that fast, once the one tire caught, it rolled it right on over.
And look at the interior of the truck. The roll cage has been caved in. Wayne was lucky to walk away from this. Army, let's watch again. I think this wreck right here could prompt the use of window netting like we see in NASCAR stock car racing. Watch the left arm. Watch Wayne's left arm come out of the cockpit there once and twice.
Yeah, exactly. You know, they're trying to adapt them to the open wheel vehicles. The monster truck guys, I think they need to look at the same rule, Gary.
Round one pairings. Bigfoot 8 against No Problem and Nightlife against Nightmare. Then it's Barefoot and Bad Medicine, King Crunch, and Snakebite. Taurus will take on Above and Beyond and the Carolina Crusher against Micro Machine as we look at work under the two-frame Bigfoot 8.
Now, the qualifying session was interesting. Earlier today, we talked about the Nightlife vehicle. Bigfoot had some problems. We had a throttle stick on Scott Stevens' vehicle, so these guys are really laying down the law trying to get good qualifying shots in today here at Bloomsburg.
Bigfoot looks like he'd lost a drive shaft there in qualifying as they continue to work on Bigfoot 8.
And then the rear end actually broke on it and it crabbed over to the side or walked sideways.
Well, there is Nightlife. Wayne Swazanik out of Jupiter, Florida. He can still drive it. And look at this. He's going up against Steve Hess from Columbia City, Indiana. And can you believe he can still race this vehicle?
Well, I want you to keep something in mind. We're going to be up front with the folks. Don't look for a cavalry charge, but he's still running him kind of hard. He was going up just to pick up the points. You get round money points. This kid out of Florida is trying to be a player.
In trouble. Look at this. Nightlife's going to win it. Nightlife was almost dead in the water. Then Nightmare has a problem, and Wayne wins it.
Wayne comes back trying to pick up just a few points here. He's going to go over to the next round and pick up more points, but earlier he brought to our attention about the possibility of a safety net. These guys may need to look at a thicker wall tubing for their roll cages to keep them from collapsing. The tubing they're using now basically is designed for like a 2,000-pound vehicle, and these rascals weigh 10,000 pounds.
Wayne will continue on in competition. He's standing by with Army.
Well, when Nightlife came in this morning, you didn't have any idea you'd be talking to me under these circumstances, did you?
No, not the first time, nor this time, actually.
Well, the flip, you got the truck back together. What about going in the next round? You're still a player today.
Yeah, we're hanging in there. You know, with a cage like that, I'm scared to run the truck too hard, because if it did go back over, I don't know if it had the strength to support it the second time without a really good repair.
We take a look at Bad Medicine, Don Van Loo, Jefferson City, Missouri. And here is Fred Schaefer in the dreaded Barefoot.
There's a motion picture about a monster named Fred, and the monster truck guys, they know the story on Barefoot. We told you earlier, he's here just to do one thing, thump these guys big time. He picks on Van Loo, who relies on the Chrysler horsepower.
Well, that's not going to be enough. Look at the air as Fred clears the first set of cars and motors easily over the second, and he has an easy victory here in round one.
The truck is actually about 6 inches longer than any other trucks, so it launches 6 inches further back in cleaner dirt, if you will.
And Fred has the muscle under the hood to power over those cars. Here's Fred with Army.
Probably the strongest Chevrolet truck in America is Fred Schaefer's National Champion Chevrolet. Fred, basically, you just came in here, you're throwing all the cards on the table. Only the baddest of the bad is going to walk out of this one today.
There are some bad boys here today, and we got a big crowd, Army, and everybody's pumped up. There's a lot of flogging going on in the pit area, and it's going to be one heck of a race today.
And look who's coming up. There is Snake Bite. And Snake Bite goes up against Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch.
Gary, there's a couple different theories here on the monster trucks. I want you to notice the Snake Bite truck, the motor location to the front, basically in the stock location as the truck. Stevens on the near side, he runs the mid-motor or rear motor setup. The monster truck fraternity is still trying to figure out the hot handle.
Well, on paper, it would look that King Crunch would have the advantage. He was the faster qualifier of these two. Pretty close, really close. Hang on, is he going to go on over? No, the Snake Bite almost got upside down.
I tell you, it looked like the Blue Angels Precision Flying Team. They both got to the end of the track and went opposite directions. Look at this, both drivers doing a superb job.
Well, Scott has the advantage right here, Army, but look, the final 100 feet, Snake Bite almost gets him. Well, you're down there in the pit area. You've collected both the drivers.
Gary, one thing's kind of interesting in drag racing, ET's important. We've got an interesting situation here. The loser actually went quicker. Colt, the word we get is you were quicker, but he got to the other end.
Yeah, Army, I was going down through there. I seen he was a little bit ahead of me, so I really stood into it pretty hard, and this grass was really slick down at the end, and we had our hands tied up and was trying to get it under control, and I had to let out just for a minute, and that's when he probably got me.
You're kind of being a nice guy. Before we went on camera, you're kind of taking a cheap shot at him. Scott, auto value going to the next round, what would you do different?
It was a good race. I was worried about getting disqualified. You know, that Snake Bite truck, you know, no telling what they're going to do to you out there. It was just a good race. He didn't run over me like, you know, he told me he was going to, so it was a good thing.
I am just waiting for somebody to try to pull off his headgear as we take a look at Pat Suma and Jack Roman as they line up side by side. Once again, we have Taurus above and beyond.
Jack Willman has been around this sport as long as anybody. He comes out of the Granite City, Illinois area, right across the river from St. Louis. He's going up against Above and Beyond, probably one of the newest trucks on the circuit, so the odds-on favorite has to be the Chevy in the far lane, Gary.
Well, of course, Taurus is a brand-new ride, a brand-new truck. Above and Beyond in trouble. A ragged drive for both of these guys, but the victory will go to Taurus. Nothing pretty about that.
No, not at all, but I don't think that Jack was driving. He knew how tough the competition was. He ran just enough to beat him. Now, one of the things you got to remember, though, on these jumps, there's a missing car. The second car is missing, so you have to clear about 10 feet in the air, so you got to drive hard enough to get over that hump, Gary.
Well, as we take a look now at the Carolina Crusher, there he is, Gary Porter. And Gary Porter, the second fastest qualifier here this afternoon, right behind Bigfoot. And in round one, he goes up against Micro Machine, John Bream.
John Bream out of Jeff City, Missouri. He and his brother Bobby been around the sport for many years. As a matter of fact, they actually run 3 trucks in the Monster Truck Series. They brought the Micro Machine over to them to go head-to-head. The old Carolina Crusher.
Gary Porter in that big Chevrolet, side by side to the second ramp, and who's going to win it? Gary Porter by about a half length. He won that in the second half of that run.
Yeah, he pulled it out on the top end of the track. Well, one of the things I was watching, I hope this camera angle shows us, John Bream had his hands full in that last 100 feet, the showdown area. Watch Bream from here on. Reporter settle down. Look at Bream. He is still bouncing. There's a dip in that left lane. The drivers are getting spooked about it, Gary.
And now here is Bigfoot, Andy Brass, Bigfoot 8 out of St. Louis, Missouri. He is the fastest qualifier. He goes up against John Moore in no problem. A pair of Fords, a pickup, and a Bronco.
Both of them running 460 cubic inch supercharged engine. The Bigfoot team relies on the blower drive service out of California to help make their horsepower.
This will be a big challenge for John Moore, but he's going to run him tough. A lot of smoke from that short wheelbase Bronco. Andy Brass takes the victory. It was a good ride, though, for John Moore. And there is Bob Chandler, the man behind the Bigfoot stable. We look once again And the Army will have you walk over and see if you can't corral John Moore after we take a look at the replay. And there is the margin of victory for Andy Brass in Bigfoot.
Moore, the Bigfoot boys knew you're going to run them tough. That's exactly what you did.
Yeah, I had to give him everything I had. I had to try and get him on the light first. And then I knew I was going to be down on motor a little bit, but I had to run it for all it was worth, and I sure tried that.
Well, we have some bad news for all the Taurus fans. That is a brand new truck, had an easy first-round victory over Above and Beyond, but there is something amiss in the drive shaft, and Taurus is out of competition. Bigfoot a winner, as was Nightlife in round 1 competition, also winning Barefoot and King Crunch. So now we're set for round 2 competition as we take a look at the other winners. Snakebite and the Carolina Crusher will advance. And here is a look at Scott Stevens in the Auto Value King Crunch, and he goes up against Fred Schaefer and Barefoot.
You know, it's kind of interesting. Schaefer comes in here. The scenario is almost like a gunfighter. You know, he's not supposed to be here. I don't think these guys want him here. Scott Stevens knows he is going to have the race of his life on his hand right now to get past that Barefoot truck. These guys don't compete against each other that often. Stevens jumped him on the light, Gary.
Oh, he got a good cut, but look at the air. Fred Schaefer way up in the air. Oh, problem for Scott Stevens. He is upside down. That truck looks like it's really been hurt. We'll watch to see for Scott if Scott can climb out as the crew runs over there, the safety crew, his crew. They look in the cage. Look at the destruction to that Chevrolet. They're peeling the fiberglass away now. We can only wait. Well, Scott is out of the truck.
Gary, his crew chief, Tracy Smart, is an EMT. He's with him right now. Larry Hoffman, Blower Drive Service. The right people are there, but meanwhile, Barefoot's trying to work his way back. The race for the next round gets ready, but the question at hand, how bad does Scott Stevens get hurt on this?
And how bad does Scott tear up the truck? Obviously, the truck is not our concern when a driver may be injured, but it looks like he hit that rough spot over there in that left lane. That turned him sideways.
Right. It's like hooking a rut in a sprint car. You've used that before. It's exactly what happened. This camera angle should show you real good. Look at the air, the hang time Schaefer had on the left of your screen. Now he pulls back on Stevens. Stevens, bad
right there. Yeah, he catches that rut and rolls him on over. A lot of damage.
Well, Gary, that run tore up 2 good monster trucks. Scott Stevens seems to be the worst for wear. Schaefer's going to be back in the next round. They right the Stevens truck. The crew chief's looking at it. I wonder what's going through his mind right now, Gary Lee. Check it out. Still taking care of the sponsor.
We'll check on Scott as we return to Bloomsburg. And there is the damage to the Creative fiberglass body on King Crunch. The driver is okay. He is with Army Armstrong.
Scott, first of all, you okay?
Yeah, you know, it's a pretty hard tumble. You know, I've done it before, but boy, you never get used to them. And that one, it just lasted so long, and you know, it's it hurt.
Do you have any idea what caused the flip? Everybody, you know, I'm not going to put any thoughts in your mind. What do you think caused it?
I have no idea. I thought it was a really good run. The truck got a little crooked, but no more crooked than it was probably done 100 times before. It just when it landed, you know, I thought it was a pretty decent race. You know, I thought Fred had a little lead on me, but you know, I didn't. And then all of a sudden, it was Katie bar the door. Everything from all I could see was dirt, and I couldn't tell from one end to the other, and all I was reaching was for kill switches.
Well, I tell you, you did a real good job. Your crew's over here waiting. They're anxious to get back to you. Thanks for stopping by and then telling us you're okay. Sorry about the bad luck.
All right, no problem. Thank you, Army.
So the crew will get together and assess the damage on the King Crunch Chevrolet as our competition continues here at the Bloomsburg Fairgrounds in Bloomsburg, Pennsylvania. We take a look at Snakebite Colt Cobra, Cobra Creek, Colorado, the hometown. And there is Gary Porter out of North Carolina in the Carolina Crusher.
Gary, one of the things we're going to see the rest of the afternoon, everybody's got a lane choice. I guarantee you it's going to stay away from the left lane. The lane the snake's in should be the bad lane if the drivers are right.
And Gary Porter by a fender. Well, maybe a truck length as he pulled it out in the final 100 feet. And that's the uniqueness of this racetrack, Army, the additional 100 feet past the last set of cars.
Normally,
right there's where he wins it.
Right. Normally, the last car in the second jump is the finish line. That extra 100 feet, boy, you got to throttle up in a hurry. And, you know, I've asked the drivers, they said subconsciously they're ready to be stopping at that time. They do not want to go that other 100 feet.
Well, here's a truck that looks like the remnants from a demolition derby, and this is why it looks that way. This was in qualifying earlier. Look at this. upside down. The cage actually collapses, and we're concerned with that arm flailing about on the left side. But here he is in round 2, Wayne against Andy.
Brass runs hard right lane. Wayne using his head, Gary.
Well, you heard him say earlier he was concerned about running that truck hard, perhaps getting upside down again with that weakened cage. So Andy Brass will advance in Bigfoot 8.
You got to remember, we just talked a moment ago about lane choice. Lane choice is determined by the quick ET. So Andy Brass still had to run hard in order to try to protect that lane for the next round.
Well, Bigfoot will go up against Barefoot. That should be interesting. And Snakebite, the fast loser, against the Carolina Crusher. And the winners of each will go to the final round. And here we have the Snakebite over there on the far right side of your screen. And he goes up against Gary Porter in the Carolina Crusher. Gary, an old, wily veteran.
Snakebite keeps slithering back into these eliminations. It's amazing. He's trying to make Gary Porter think. He's doing a little psych job. Porter went into the line. Snakebite stopped, and he went forward, backed up. Just trying to make him think about what he's going to do. But I don't believe he's going to rattle the Crusher. Let's see.
And keep in mind that Snakebite has yet to win a round.
But he keeps coming back.
Through being a fast loser or through the wreckage of somebody else, he keeps coming back. But this time, well, he won't make it through this one as Gary Porter takes the victory in the Chevrolet, the Carolina Crusher. So the Snakebite, well, they have devenomized the Snakebite today, and he'll go to the paddock area.
The optimum word there was today. He'll be back, I'll guarantee you.
So Gary Porter will find himself in the championship shootout as a great crowd is on hand. A lot of sunshine here in the hills of north central Pennsylvania, and they're cheering for this guy right here, Andy Brass in Bigfoot 8 out of St. Louis, Missouri. And look who he's going up against. Barefoot Fred Schaefer, the last truck, the 13th truck to arrive today, and he has a shot at the finals.
The bottom of the Barefoot sign on the truck has said racer, and that's exactly what Fred Schaefer is. He came in here, he's going to run whoever he has to run. And I'm going to be upfront about this thing. Fred Schaefer does not like the Bigfoot guys one bit.
Schaefer has the advantage headed to the second set of cars. Look at this. The Chevrolet takes the win over the Ford of Bigfoot. Well, the Chevy fans are happy as Barefoot Fred Schaefer beats out the Bigfoot 8 of Andy Brass.
Watch how soft Barefoot lands. Not a lot of bounce. Look at this. He absorbs the impact. That's why that truck goes so quick.
And look what lane he was in. The right lane, Bigfoot the left lane. Here's the winner with Army.
This is a guy that's always wanted to race this way. When I say this way, I mean, look, let's let the cards go where they may. Fred, this is exactly, if you had to write a script, this is the way you'd write it, isn't it?
This is the race, and we got Gary Porter out there with Carolina Crusher. He's a tough customer to come, and it's going to be a real good finish, I think.
You have lane choice. I need to ask where you're going to go.
Oh, I'm going to stay in that lane. I think we got a pretty good lane right there.
What happens 10 feet off the line? A while ago, it looked to me like you almost short shifted the truck or something. You rolled, and then 10 feet out, it went like a rocket.
I think it's starting to hook a little bit better. I think the dirt's a little loose on the starting line, and then those tires are really digging in about 10 feet out. So hopefully we can get that starting line cleaned off a little bit by doing some burnouts and go for it.
Well, the bow tie brigade will love the finals because it will be Chevy against Chevy coming up next. Welcome back to the four-wheel and off-road Jamboree Summer Nationals. There is a host of activities for you truck enthusiasts, and to find out more about how you can be part of the action, call or write the Special Events Promotion Company. We are ready now for the championship shootout. Chevy against Chevy. Barefoot Fred Schaefer against the Carolina Crusher and Gary Porter.
Schaefer is doing something that is new to this sport. He's actually doing a dry hop or a burnout on the starting line. I told you earlier that truck is 6 inches longer than everybody else's. That means if you start in the tracks of the man in front of you, you got to go over a little hump. Where he dug the track out, Schaefer's digging his own track out. And I think that he was kind of spoofing me a minute ago. Something is happening to that truck 10 feet off the starting line. I believe he's making a transmission shift. He runs a Lenco transmission just like they run in the dragsters. I just think he might have something up his sleeve.
Well, let's find out. It's a good hole shot by Gary Porter, but look at Fred Schaefer make up the ground, out of control, but he's going to win it. Hang on. I thought he was going to roll over.
Well, I believe we might have a disqualification here. Schaefer went, watch the screen. There's an out of bounds on the right side. Schaefer was pushing it. Boy, Porter left the line like a rock. 10,000-pound trucks leaving just as hard as pro stock drag cars. Look at this. Plus, they jump 20 and 30 feet in the air.
Schaefer has the advantage, but right here, he's going to get disqualified. And that means the Carolina Crusher, Gary Porter, will take the victory here in Bloomsburg. And I can't believe he took it in the left lane, Army.
Well, Gary, right before the final, I sat here and literally made a fool out of myself, said the winner's going to come out of the right side of the track. Gary, I'm being very honest with you. I in no way expected a win for this event to come off the left lane.
That's right. I knew I was the underdog going into that race. You know, I had the bad lane, so I just had to plan everything before I got to the line, how I was going to leave the line, where I was going to set the truck up, and I was just going to have to try to do everything perfect on that run, and I think it worked out pretty good.
Our congratulations to Gary Porter as he takes the victory in Bloomsburg.
Monster truck #1.
Well, today the Carolina Crusher is #1. For Army Armstrong, I'm Gary Lee. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on Trucks and Tractor Power. Now here's news of an exciting home video from Diamond P Sports.
It's an aerial dogfight. It's man and machine banging handlebar to handlebar on radical racetracks. It's the story of the top guns of Supercross and their personal dogfights waged on tortuous tracks. It's the drama of the 1991 Camel Supercross season. It's flight to the finish. Sean Michelle Bale, Jeff Stanton, David Bradshaw, and all the superstars of Supercross battle it out in the highest flying, hardest riding action ever seen on two wheels. To get your copy of Flight to the Finish, call 1-800-257-5252 or send check or money order plus shipping and handling to this address. Visa and MasterCard accepted, no CODs. Call now 1-800-257-5252.